My name is Jody Luke, and I am the Executive Director of Love Does, and I'm so honored to be able to host the Love Does podcast. We are launching our second season with connected episodes, hearing from two powerhouse leaders who are helping to lead our efforts in both Poland and Ukraine simultaneously. We had the great privilege of visiting the region last summer, and I was just struck by how in parts of Ukraine, even in the midst of war, life goes on seemingly normal. In one moment, I'll be walking down beautifully lined European-looking streets, and people are going to work with their briefcases, and kids are laughing, jumping in fountains. And then the next moment, there's bomb alarms and electricity is off. There's soldiers everywhere. There's funeral processions. There was moments I had to stop and think, am I in a World War II movie? It seemed surreal, and yet it's very real. And Ukraine is a first world country. And so I kept thinking, what would I be like if somebody invaded our home country or my neighboring home country? Would I stay? Would I go? Would I help? How long would I help? I know at the beginning of this war, when Russia invaded Ukraine in spring of 2022, there were a lot of people and organizations that jumped in to help. Of course, Love Does was one of them. And in that process, it became evident that kids needed to be helped too, which of course Love Does loves to do. And so we jumped in to help with creating a school in Poland and in Warsaw, and it's been remarkable. We have an episode about that, so if you haven't heard about that, you should listen. And then we jumped in on a number of different levels in Ukraine, helping and trying to figure out what it would look like sort of long term as well. And so we've been showing up from the beginning of the war, and now it's several years later, we keep showing up. And that's only possible because of the outstanding leadership on the ground that is led by Pastor Maciek, who's been on a previous episode last season, and his wife, his wonderful wife, Iga, Estera, and our guest on our podcast today, Annemarie. And, in disasters, you see, sometimes the very worst and also the best in people. And I think this has brought out the very best. My question earlier of, what would you be like? Well, we know what the guest on our podcast today was like. She chose to lead. She chose to organize people and supplies in a really quick way and get them to the people that needed it the most. Because I've had time to think about that we're doing this podcast, I thought some of the adjectives that best describe you to me is you're a cross between a Ferrari and a doctor. I know it's totally random, but I think it's a good description because you're rare, you're dynamic, you're confident, you're fast moving, you're sleek, but you are a really wonderful, powerful leader to follow. And so I'm really grateful to have you on the podcast today. And so welcome, Annemarie.
Thank you so much, Jody. I don't even know what to say. No one ever compared me either to like a car or a doctor. So that's amazing. Thank you so much. First of all, I want to say that I'm so honored to even be a part of the Love Does family, because throughout this 2.5 years already, it really feels like family. I think you have this way as well. It's not just the work. It's our life. So as the months go by, days go by, we don't even see that. But if you see to the whole vision of what has, all the experience that we had, every people that we met, everyone that we helped, but also worked with, it's just a huge family. So I'm so proud to be a part of that.
I am as well. It feels like that when we get on our Zooms. I was actually really proud of my description, by the way. I was really excited about it. But so you live in Warsaw, but you are not from Poland or Ukraine. So tell us a little bit about where you're from and your background and all that.
So yeah, I'm Annemarie Vanlangendonck. So that also says that I'm not really a Polish. So I'm from Belgium. My dad is Belgian. My whole family is there in Belgium still. But I moved to Poland with my mom already 20 years ago. So I totally feel like, I would say, citizen of the Europe for sure. But I've been here since, went to school, went to high school, graduated one university, second university, started off my career. And I really feel at home here in Warsaw. But 2.5 years, I discovered I actually have another place that I call now home, and that's definitely Ukraine. And I have never been before the war in Ukraine. I had no connection whatsoever. But I think that's also something I hope we can talk more about it, is that how powerful it is when God comes one day in your life and says, that's going to be your purpose. That's going to be your home.
Well, I think we'll probably have time to talk about that. And that is unique because not a lot of people had a lot of preconceived notions really about Ukraine, but in the last 2.5 years, everybody knows about Ukraine. And let's go back to that time. Right away, baby formula became a need. And I don't know exactly who identified that. I think you were a part of the church that Pastor Bacek was leading at the time. And you all organized very, very quickly. And you were making these deliveries of baby formula. I know Love Does jumped in with 125 tons of it because we have a really generous Love Does community who wanted to help. But talk about those early deliveries and that early time and what that felt like and looked like as you were a part of it.
So we did all as Life Church, based in Warsaw. Pastor Maciek got an information from a Ukrainian pastor being in Warsaw that's like the biggest need, right? Because throughout the horrible stress of war that it just became from nothing, actually, the women they couldn't breastfeed normally. So baby formula was like the first thing that we got an information that's what was needed in the hospitals. So right away we opened a collection at church, and people were coming day and night, basically bringing baby milk formula and trying to be a part of that. And at the time, what I think is amazing about Polish society as such is that in the first month, um, I didn't know anyone who would not help in any way, either it was just donating financially or being a part of even like making soup or sandwiches to bring to the railway station, because you have to know Ukraine is our neighbor. In the first months of the war, our railway stations in Warsaw and all the bigger cities on the east side of Poland, they were full of stressed, horribly disoriented people who are coming from Ukraine and trying to figure out what to do next. So actually everyone was involved, and I'm not involved, and I'm not exaggerating even. So then Pastor Maciek, when he met through contacts, of course, he met Bob Goss, and then you guys also came to the refugee center where we also started off working. And that lead us to 125 tons of milk, 11 transports full of baby formula to hospitals in Ukraine, there where it was most needed. And and it's the whole process, even to think about it, 11 huge trucks going from a church in Warsaw, which is not a huge church, but people got so involved. And also because Pastor Maciek, I don't know if he said that in his interview, but he's kind of an influencer here in Poland. So he's, that we are doing a collection, of course, we put it on our social media, Instagram, and not only like random people from the church start sharing it, but also other influencers and other like pop stars were sharing it. So we came to the point where really famous people of Poland, everyone was sharing, guys, if you want to be a part of it, baby formula needed, come to Life Church and see how can you help.
That's awesome. And he is an influencer. He's quite a character. That's for sure. And you get to be with them all the time. But I think a lot of people want to help. And I love that in those early days, as I said, in disasters, it highlights the very worst and also the best of people. And it sounds like those were, in some ways, the best of days where people were in Poland really coming together to help with a common cause. But within Love Does, people want to help, and they don't know how to half the time. And so then they don't do anything, not because they don't want to, but they just don't know how to. So it's not like this came with a playbook for you. How did you know what to do?
Yeah, so I want to circle back that I have never been to Ukraine before the war. When the war started on 24th of February, I was a part of, I was supposed to have a meeting with the American embassy, actually, when it was way planned like months earlier, where we wanted to talk about migration. And the war started at 5 a.m. We got the information that Russia invaded Ukraine, and I had the meeting at 5 p.m. And that was the moment when we decided, well, this meeting is gonna look totally different than we were planning it, because migration is gonna happen now, and we have to act. So I've been to Ukraine on the third day of war. I've been bringing medical equipment, everything from medical issues that was needed, part also of baby formula, and coming back with people. And I remember the first days, it was like that I was driving into Ukraine, and I was like basically the only one. So you had traffic jams of 50, 70 kilometers. That's, I would say, like 30, 40 miles. Going out of Ukraine, people standing in, cold. It was 24th February in the cold, like standing in huge traffic jams, lines, kids, older, elderly. It was really horrible. But for me, what's most important is that to be a part, to help, you don't need to go to Ukraine and be there. That's what I do. That is my job. But you can help on so many different ways. First of all, you can contribute financially, and you may think, I don't know, I'm not gonna, what can $90 do? For example, I'm just saying $90 in Poland for example, our school is a whole month of warm meals for our kids, our refugee kids. For example, $90. Or you can, $70 is a whole package for a woman that has, traveled whole Ukraine through to give birth to her baby in kind of safe space. We give her a package, and it costs approximately $70. And for her, it's something that will help her for next month, because, for example, she got a loan, she's totally alone. And maybe for US or for Polish people, a pack of diapers, or, a new dress for the mother, it's nothing. And for them, it's a huge thing. It's something that will every day, like, help them in everyday life. So it's not always about doing these grand gestures and changing your life completely just because, now you're going to help. It's not about that, because I remember in the beginning of the war, people also had this idea, okay, let's go to the border to Ukraine, and without the plan. And it was all amazing that people wanted to help, but the most important is the structure. And the most important is to, for example, if you are aware of what can you do. So, for example, give financial aid or be a volunteer in a community center where you have refugees. It's really important to have trusted organizations who you can go and ask, how can I be a part of the project? Because really, people think, oh, everyone is involved, everyone is helping, but in reality, we always need hand for hand to help, right? We always need this extra few dollars to pay a meal for the kids, pay their monthly tuition, go to in a food program or whatever. So it's really the small steps that for some of you may think like it wouldn't make a change. It really does. So even
we've seen it's true. And we've seen that over and over. But I think one of the other things that I often encounter is just the power of fear in paralyzing people. And when you go to Ukraine, there actually is real danger. When we were there last summer, we were just there for one night, and it was supposed to be relatively no big deal. And of course, 21 drone bombs were sent over that night. And the anti-missile defense system shot them out of the air. Thankfully, or you and I would not be talking today on the podcast. So I'm really grateful for NATO and everything around that. But there's real danger every time you enter. There was at the beginning of the war, especially then, because they were so uncertain. And even now, I mean, I know this last week, it was just all of Ukraine was just being overwhelmed with missiles and drone bombs. So how do you continue to say yes to what you know is a little bit dangerous, or working through your fear so that it doesn't keep you from doing what you feel like God has called you to do?
So yeah, first of all, I really want to put a huge pressure on that you cannot say that, I don't know, Lviv is a safe place because it's in the west of Ukraine. There's not such a thing like a safe place in Ukraine. Ukraine has been bombed over and over again throughout the whole country from 2.5 years, right? So there's not such thing that, of course, the life in some cities is running kind of normal, but like you saw that, right? It was normal, and then we had like this bomb alarms. So um, people are living in constant fears. Like you told, this week, 15 cities were targeted, and not only the east side that's all the time under attack, but also Lviv, Tarnopol, Łódź, cities that are really close to NATO, close to Poland. So people got, I don't want to say got used to, but they started living normally through the fear. I remember, for example, whenever I go to Ukraine, and that's every month, I always stay at people's homes. That also the hospitality of Ukrainian people is just amazing. So when we are staying in Bucha, Irpień, Hostomel, Moszczun, this is the Kiev district. It's been under the first cities that been under Russian occupation. You may know it as the massacre of 2022, everything that happened, the pictures of the horrible murders, rapes were over the whole world, what happened there. We go there, of course, as Love does, to help, to provide help to hospitals, to people who still live there. They called them, the cities are called Mista Heroje, the hero cities, because these are the cities that have, for example, Moszczun, not even one house was stayed the same after the occupation. But what I wanted to say is that now when we go there, we went there after Ukraine got the territory over. And then a few times later, we were sleeping in Bucha, and the owner of the house were like, you know what? There are drones flying, so if you want to see, we can go out. And when Ukrainian army destroys the Russian drones, it looks like fireworks. So basically, sometimes we go to the garden and we watch that. That's like fireworks. It's like New Year Eve. You don't have to be afraid. You know, these are it for us. It's just yeah, like that. I didn't even believe that, but they have it every day. So I think if these people are so brave to go through that, to live in that, I have to be also there. I have to be the one. I cannot be, of course I'm scared, of course. But I'm also, my faith in God is that if He decides that my days are over, then my days are over. And I don't have anything to say against that. So as long as He puts me in this situation where we get new sponsors, we get new donations, we get new projects, that means He wants me to be there, and He wants me to fight through fear every day. I have also amazing testimonies of what God gave me, like what kind of security He gave me. I told we were in April. We traveled through the whole east side of Ukraine. We were Suma, Kharkiv, and Donetsk region. These are the most dangerous regions. And we were giving out hygienic packages to the people who still live there. I'm talking about 15, 20 kilometers from the front line. So really last villages that are still not evacuated. We were in the city called Potevil in Suma region, and we were giving out packages. That was very moving, like touching for me, because we had lines of kids. Kids were standing in line for asking for help. And we were, with the help of local volunteers, we were putting everything out, giving out to the people. And I was in front of the building, standing with one of the guys from the army. He was taking care of the local community that's been left there, and he was thanking us for the help and for the support. And he said, you can come and stay for the night at our building, and then you can go further. And I was like, oh, thank you so much, because it was such huge of emotions. I didn't even think through that. We didn't ever plan where we're gonna stay at. So it's like, thank you so much. That's great. Let's just move here on with giving all the packages out, and then we're gonna go with you guys to the place where we can stay. So we gave everything out. And then we had a dinner with local authorities, just few guys from the army, just a very close meeting, without any. It was in a room without any windows. And one of the volunteers, he spent already a few days with us. He said to others, because the girls they are praying very funny. And I was like, what do you mean we pray very funny? Like, yeah, because you're Protestant and you hold hands all the time. And I was like, it's not what we normally do. But I'm here with Marta Kryb. She's my translator and my right hand in every Ukrainian projects. And we were a whole week there. We were afraid. We had bombs. We saw different things. So we were holding hands and praying every morning, every evening. And the guys were like, can you pray for us as well? Like, and I was like, yeah, sure. So I was sitting in this room without windows with soldiers like that, huge guys, right? And they were all holding hands and praying, you know. And so I started, I was like, God, thank you so much that we even have the opportunity to come to these people, to meet these people. And God, I'm so thankful that you're like leading us this whole way, that you're keeping us safe. And God, I'm asking you to keep safe all this. I was praying for us, for the volunteers, for everyone who was there. And after that, we started eating, talking, everything. And I got like this instant, I was so tired, but it was like that, And I don't normally have that. I drive cars in Ukraine wherever you need me to go. I drive these bulletproof cars on the east side. I drive the truck on the west side, whatever you need me. I feel adrenaline, so I don't feel tired like that. But I had like a feeling that someone switched me off. And I turned to this guy who offered us a place to stay. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so appreciative that you offered us a place. But I'm so tired and I don't see myself driving any mile more with the car. Is there any chance we can stay here for the night? And we promise we're gonna come to your place tomorrow to, also meet the people you're working with, really. But I'm like such, switching off. And he was like, yeah, sure, no problem. You can stay at and like local authorities, the mayor's house, whatever. That's not a problem. I was like, thank you so much. I felt so stupid because the guy, offered, but I wasn't. And then we went to bed and I get a phone call at 2 a.m. From the soldier. And I'm like, Misha, what's going on? And he said, the apartment that you were supposed to be in, it got targeted. Right. And I was like, that sounds a bit dramatic. Like maybe the whole building, like, is everyone okay? What is going on? And he was like, no, I'm going to send you a video. And he sent me a video and the drone targeted only the apartment we were supposed to be in. The only damage had been made was through the window of the room that I was supposed to be with Mark. Mm. And, I have a lot of this kind of testimonies in my life, but how God switched off me because he knew that I'm going to be like, okay, let's go. He had to switch off my energy to make sure me and Marta are going to be safe for the night. Because if we would be in this apartment, we would not be talking to you anymore.
And you have a lot of stories like that. I know when we were delivering and visiting with some of the women that are in these maternity wards, some are widows, newly widows, some are alone. Most of them, well, a majority are alone when they're doing this. And when I'm traveling, I often get gifts. But I was struck by the role of faith in so many of the people that we visited with, the soldiers or people that are helping. And we walked into that one room, and I think in part because people are at their really most vulnerable and sometimes their worst moments, that when people feel like they've been seen and not forgotten, it's really emotional for them. And they just want to give you something in representation of that. And she gave her Ukrainian Bible to me. I don't know if you remember that. It sits on my bedstand at night. And I think about her and I think about some of the other women who had delivered preemie babies. I had a preemie baby, so I was the stress of that, and just the people there that are suffering, that are in fear, and really all over the world. But that Ukrainian Bible was so special to me, that I think It's one of my, one of the top 10 really prized possessions that I have because of the meaning behind it. And I think the faith element of that, of just watching people really walk in faith, it was really remarkable in so many ways. And I would think through that, your faith has been changed. Would you agree in the last couple of years?
Of course, because, I'm so thankful to God for every day. And I cannot imagine, for real, I cannot imagine my life without having, God and believing, because the things I saw, the things I experienced, I talked with, for example, I talked with nurses in European, in the hospital where the Russians came in, and I talked, and she said to me, when you see through the window that there is a tank coming at you, you have nothing but to, fall on your knees and say, God, please lead us out of that. When I talked with the soldiers in from Bakhmut, they said there are no, everyone believes in God when you're sitting in the trenches, because, there's no one else. There's just God that you can pray for to lead you out of the situation. And of course, it changed me. And of course, it changed my faith, because I am grateful for every moment, every day, and every person that I meet. And, you know, it's also because we in the foundation, like I told in the beginning, it's not a work, it's a family. And I believe that God put us all together, and we are so completely different in the team. Like Esther has a huge heart for the kids. I'm the one who is always brave to go whatever you need. And then Marta is the one who, gets everything in order if it's come to, she's a real tough Ukrainian girl. And then Milena is the one organizing it, or like to organize everything and to show what we do on social media. And then we have, of course, Pastor Maciek and his wife Ida. We are so different, but God has put us all together for the goal to have all these elements to work towards helping every individual. So I'm so thankful for every opportunity and also for every testimony that I can share, because I know that maybe someone listens to that, to, for example, our podcast, or I had some interviews or even like talks, and they're like, I didn't see that God can use me in any way. I didn't see a path in my life. Maybe that's a season for you. And then I heard this story, I heard that story, and I want to be more involved. And I believe that every opportunity we get in life, it is from God. And it's just, I'm very lucky that God is really putting me like a child, leading me through the road. So I'm in this amazing season that already lasted, 2.5 years, that God is really putting me through. But I pray for everyone who is lost to really find their own path in life. And serving people is the most beautiful thing that I could ever imagine to do. And I I have this amazing work that I can do it every day.
I agree. I love it. And to that end, we have an exciting kind of new adventure project that we're doing, launching this fall in Ukraine. After we spent some time there, we wanted to kind of think through how we could. You have so many incredible relationships that you've built through your leadership and the way that you've served people there, that we wanted to maybe do a Love Does boutique. We have one in the U.S. that's connected to our single mom home, where single moms can shop for free and can get what they need. And then what we don't do it here, but we're going to do it there to add some workshops, because so many of these women need physical things, and that's really true. The need is great, but the mental piece of it is also quite daunting, and helping with some resources to help some of those women that are really experiencing great amount of trauma and are still in it. So explain what a Love Does boutique in Ukraine will look like and how it could be helpful.
So first of all, the team in the American Love Does boutique is so amazing. They sent out all this video, and I'm really hoping to, like, I know they go to us, we go to them, whatever, to share the experience, because I am so excited about the project. And I just wanted to say why is it so important to do it something like that in Ukraine. So when I, working with maternity wards, what is I think it's very unique what we do is that we don't just bring help and we leave it there for the, hospital authorities to give it out. I meet with every single woman which gets our packages. So we have a personal connection, and that's what helps us really learn the actual needs and also the stories. Because one of the things is that they travel through whole Ukraine to, what I told, give birth in central Ukraine and West Ukraine because they hope it's going to be safer for them. But also a lot of them throughout the journey, they have an information that, for example, their husband died during the war, or
Mm.
that their house got bombed. They don't have anything to go back to. So it's really important to be with them because Ukrainian women are so brave. They are teaching me this bravery, this will to fight like every day, and that's like totally amazing. In Ukraine, you have 3.5 million displaced, IDP, displaced people, so it's a huge amount. And we are working with almost every district in Ukraine that we work with. We see how these needs are changing throughout months. So what we did from the beginning, and we met more than 1,100 women already throughout the project, is that we see that, giving them packages was amazing at the start, but now we want to involve in something bigger. So I love that boutique in Ukraine. Just to give you some numbers, some statistics, the Mother and Child Center in Dnieper in 2021 received 1,200 deliveries. In 2022, it was only 600. And then in the first quarter of 23, only 90 children were born in the hospital. Hospitals also report a higher percentage of premature births because of the stress, right? And also a lot of pregnancy pathologies. For example, there is this huge institute of gynecology in Kiev, where they reported that 82% of new births had low or extremely low birth weight. I was in a hospital in Tarnopil where the child was born weighing 400 grams or something. That's not a child that will be able to live normally. But I wanted to just go back to the story of the Bible because that's important. But I want to get back to the story what you did for one of the ladies when we went to the special care center. We were there. There was this doctor that she just said that they lost one of the children. And there was this woman, and they were just in trying to, see if the baby will live or not. And she was so stressed. And even though there was a huge language barrier because you didn't speak Korean, she didn't speak English, but because of your everything that you've been through and what kind of mother you were and what kind of experience with premature birth you had, Marta was able to translate that, and instantly the mother, she was so much calmer because she saw that there is hope. There is someone who God put in my life in this moment when I'm not sure if my baby gonna live further or not. A lady from America that shows up in the middle of, a hospital in Ukraine, and she said, I've been through that. You're gonna be okay. Your child's gonna be okay. Everything will be okay. And this kind of connections, it's why we are really doing that, because we want to show every one of these women that you're going to be okay. You're an amazing fighter, but you're a daughter of God, and he's going to let you through everything with his hand, like pushing you to go further. So the Love Does Boutique in Ukraine will be launching end of September. So in a month, in less than a month. We're opening the first one in Łódź. Łódź is the city where we are working with 30,000 IDPs. And 30,000 is a number of registered IDPs. I just want to make that sure that it's because there are way more, but you have to get registered. Not everyone gets registered, especially if they just travel to give birth in a hospital. So we worked with this hospital We've been there already 3 or 4 times with packages. They welcome a lot of women from east of Ukraine. So we decided that's a perfect location for the Love Does Boutique. We're going to be able to open there not only the Love Does Boutique, I'm going to be totally copy paste on the San Diego one because I think if something is successful, why, we just have to do how you have an amazing experience with that. And we just want to do the same in Ukraine because it works. But for us, like I told, the connection is very important. So we decided to not only open the Love Does Boutique, but involve also in the project workshops. And we thought about all the workshops that can be done. So it's gonna start off with, we are working with doulas, with psychologists, with physiologists. So we will have workshops for ladies to, first of all, make a connection, and second of all, give them time where they can learn something. We will also have things like very important, for example, first aid for a newborn. That's not something you normally learn, and that's crucial. We will have workshops of things like, how to breastfeed, or how to, if you don't have milk, how to get in this process. We are really hoping to get an amazing community of women who wants to be a part of this big Love Does family with us. And we are working on ground with our organization of doulas and psychologists. They are so excited to do that. And beside that, we are also gonna have, I want to support local businesses in Ukraine. You have to know that there's almost every day lack of electricity, lack of water, this kind of problem that we in Poland, we would never think of them. So because of that, local businesses are really struggling. So the clothes that women can purchase for free are also going to be from Ukrainian brands. So we can give a helping hand also to local businesses to say, hey, we're not going to bring everything over. You can also help us out, and we will buy your products. But also, if there is anyone who's watching us and they want to get involved and they want to send something very special, then we are having also a Amazon wish list where you can purchase something with a note, send it over to us, and we will be more than happy to put it in the Love Does Boutique in Ukraine. So straight from US to Ukraine, have this amazing connection with a package special for one of the mothers. We're there.
I absolutely love it, and I love your passion about it too. And that's what is beautiful about this team is when we brainstorm ideas, we come up with something, and then it just happens because of the amazing team that we have on the ground. And I was thinking about Ukraine, and I was reflecting back on the summer, and it was definitely heavy when we were there. And I could see how it's easy for some people to get weary and just discouraged and don't continue on. Of course, I love the passion we have on the Love Does Boutique and all the energy around that. And I think it's going to really do wonders for a lot of these women. And of course, the Bible so often talks about widows and orphans. So this is a great way to get involved there. But I was grateful that when I was in Ukraine, that I had the opportunity also then to go to Poland and in Warsaw, where we have the school created, and it's a remarkable school. It's now very well known and respected, and which is amazing in such a short time. And we have a primary school and we have a high school. And you've been really involved with that as well. And I loved it because it felt like we were doing something that was really moving the needle for a lot of these Ukrainian refugees who are unable to go back because they were from Eastern Ukraine. And so there is no more anything there for them to return to. But they really had a hope and a future, and the staff there is really loving and caring. You seem to really connect, especially with the teenagers of the Love Does High School. So what has it meant to you to be involved with the primary and the Love Does High School there in Warsaw?
I'll have to think back about how it all started, and that Esther provided workshops underneath the stairs of a huge refugee center where, like, bunk bed next to bunk bed, there were 5,000 people. And to see the journey that we went through, this workshops to a moment where we are now, we have a whole building, we have 140 kids in school. We have a huge, great high schoolers who are like these teenagers that had to become adults in a matter of days. Some of them even hours. And when you asked me also what like gives me that are people who want to help but they don't know why, so they end up not helping. Um, it's really important to think that if you're helping, you don't have to help like 100 people. You can have a huge impact on one person, and this person is gonna change their life. And in the future, you will be responsible for an amazing, amazing human being who will be a leader for other people. So that's also how I want to look at helping, not a huge picture, just focus on the one person, and then um, the effects will be amazing. So Esther has a huge heart for kids, and I'm gonna say it over and over and again because I have never met someone who is so open to kids like she is, and kids love her. And when we started high school, I was like, of course, I was whole time in the process, but kids are not really my thing. But when we started the high school, I was like, I see so big of a potential in these teenagers that are, not so way younger than I am. I'm 27. They are, 15, 16 years old. And I saw how they are very lost and how they are very, close and scared because in the beginning of the war, I remember to the smallest kids that some of the parents even told them, we are going on an adventure. We are, going on a holiday. They didn't explain the war, but when you're 14, 15, 16, you know what's happening. You know what's going on. And not only you're aware what's going on, you're also being set in a place where you're kind of responsible to now be an adult, to now, help out, start working, be a provider for because your dad cannot leave Ukraine, you're coming here with your mom. It's a thing that I would never imagine myself when I was 14 years old, even thinking about that. I was not focusing on anything this grand when I was their age. So we are providing them education, a safe place from Monday to Friday. They can go back and be kids, be teenagers and learn like, normal kids their age. But also we have to have in mind that they're not like Polish kids because they have this huge trauma and they have completely other problems, different problems. So we started up with a live business plan project that was being in few parts. So first part was psychological. The kids were going through different psychological tests, like for example, Gallup test. And for us, it's maybe normal that we know that we have different talents, good sides, bad sides, strengths. Our teenagers, they didn't know they have any strength and not even 34, right? So it was really to put them first in a moment where they see how amazing people they are and that everything that, that they are now refugees, it doesn't define them. First of all, they are Kostia, Volva, Anya, Zhenya. They're not a refugee kid. We don't look at them like that. We look at them as strong individuals who have their whole life in front of them, and we want to be there to help them out, to navigate them through this life. So after the psychological part, they've been through a whole semester of workshops, starting off how to write your CV, motivational letter. They had workshops of leadership. They met with, for example, they met with a very famous Polish singer, Dawid Jackowski, who showed them step by step, like he was also from a very poor family, how he got through faith and through really believing in him and in his dreams from like, how you say that, from zero to hero, right? So for me, the whole process was amazing to see how from when we started the high school last September, the kids were so close. They didn't even like speak out and they didn't want to have, any fun or whatsoever to the moment when we were finishing And you've been there on the graduation of the high school, you've been on the graduation of the project, where I had tears in my eyes when Kostya Bilecki, who is one of our the boys who finished our high school, who finished the program, he was speaking out about his story. He was speaking out about being under occupation, Russian occupation in Kherson for 7 months, of being homeless on the border, of everything he's been through, of living in a refugee center for months, to finally finding a place like Lovda School and finding somewhere a moment where he's like, first of all, I believe I belong somewhere. Second of all, there is hope for my life. And now I'm so proud of Kostya, of Vova, of all the other kids, because now, as we speak, Kostya is now in Vistula University, a great private Warsaw university, where he's having his classes because he got a scholarship, and he's now pursuing his dreams. And that's all because he had the chance to go into Lavda School and see that he's not a random refugee that is not important to anyone. No, he has a name, he has a surname, he has a story, but he's so powerful that he's going to make this story a testimony to show to other kids that no matter where you come from, no matter what happened in your life, you can get out of that, you can get out of this dark like points and go to a B point where you're powerful, where you know your worth, and where you're going to be saying to the others, you can do it because I've done it.
I totally agree. And what's crazy is that I think he's still at the refugee center. So he's spending the night at the refugee center and then he's going to university. I don't know if that's changed, but I know that was there at some point. And it is remarkable when we encounter women in Ukraine or these students in Poland, if they're given a chance and if they're not forgotten, that they can do absolutely remarkable things. I think about some of the people that came, again, out of World War II, and then you fast forward 50 years and they go back and talking about some people that intersected their life and gave them a chance or help or hope. And then you see what their life looked like, and it was unbelievable. And there's no question in my mind that some of those kids at our school and probably some of those women that we've encountered at some of the maternity wards will be the same.
Yeah, I also wanted to underline that we all know how World War II looked like, right? And for you've been with us when you were last time in Poland. You went with us to the Warsaw Uprisal Museum from 1944. And there is this exhibition of the kids of the Warsaw Uprisal, and you can read the stories that the kids were writing during the World War II. We went there with Esther, and it's the same stories our kids tell us. It's the same experience. So I want to everyone who would be, watching this interview and listening and thinking, what is the word war like now? Because, it's 21st century. It may be totally different. Like there are different weapons. There is different that. There are drones. But the experience of a child going through the hell of the war, it didn't change, and it will never change. It's totally they are totally afraid, they are totally lost, and it's just like in World War II, and we are now in 21st century, and I think that's horrible.
Agreed. But what I love is when we encounter people like you who are remarkable leaders. And so thank you for your consistent compassion. Thank you for your resolve. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your sacrifice, because there's that too. And we talked about it before, but there was a lot of people that got involved at the beginning, people, organizations, and very few remain now. And I think I just am grateful that you continue to choose to show up month after month and year after year. And in part because I think that's what love does. I think of Corinthians, I think of faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. And so right now in the news, you hear so much of death and destruction in this part of the world. But if you also look at what we're doing there and some of the people that we're involved with, there's some really beautiful experiences of love in action. And, all of us will leave this earth at some point. There's 100% of us. But to me, the only thing that remains is love that will carry with us. After that.
I think that if you come to love, you can think about all the horrible things that are happening. But when I think also about Ukraine, I think about our teacher, Mrs. Ina, who says that our school is her real home and she give the love to the kids. When I think about Ukraine, I think about a soldier I met in the hospital in because he got into a hospital in Ukraine. His wife came, and the only thing he wanted to talk about was his beautiful wife and his kids, and not the fact that he's been so hard wounded. When I think about love in Ukraine, I think that every time we go there, no matter how far east we go, people there, like the old ladies, welcome us with all open arms and they say, "Oh, beautiful, our daughters from Poland came here." And throughout all this bad and really difficult emotions, there is this huge part of love, of solidarity, of openness that we see hope for future. And that's why the project in Ukraine, everything I do in Ukraine is called Peremaha, so it's victory in Ukrainian, because this love and this hope. And I had this memory of when we were in Lviv, and there, there's one day there's this funeral of a soldier who died on the front line in the church, and the next day there is a beautiful wedding of a soldier with his beautiful wife, and whole Lviv is cheering. And there is this very special person for me that passed away. She was killed. She was Irina Cheka Chibuk. She was a year younger than I was, and it's a whole story. It's really touched me. But before she died, a year before, she wrote a letter, saying a letter that gave to her brother to read out after she is gonna be killed, because she knew that someday it's gonna happen. She died 29th of May, 2024. One day before my birthday, 2 days before her birthday. We were almost the same day. And in this letter, she said that no matter what is going on, the love is the most important thing. And when I die, I want no flowers. I want no crying. I want that everyone will sing our beautiful Ukrainian songs that are full of love. So when the 2nd of June this year, Kiev was saying the final goodbye to Cheka, the whole city was singing. And there were tears, but there were tears after someone who fought always with love, because she was a medic and she was always there for the people. So no matter what's going on, love always wins, and love does amazing.
You're doing the same. There's a reason why you connected so much with her, and it's because you have the similar passion and the similar just love and commitment for your people. It doesn't matter if they're Ukrainians or Polish or Europeans, or we're a part of your family too. So I'm excited about the projects we have coming. The Love Does Boutique coming in Ukraine. And for anyone that wants to know more, they can go to our website, lovedoes.org/Ukraine. And thanks for your leadership, Annemarie. I can't wait to see you on future Zooms and, of course, in person, hopefully this next year.
Thank you so much for accepting me into the Love Does family.
Hey, everybody, it's Bob Goff here. I've been part of this great caper called Love Does for quite a while. And I want to thank you for listening to this podcast. If you want to have some more information about Love Does, you can go to lovedoes.org. You can also email hello@lovedoes.org. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Here's the important part. Do something, whatever that is. Don't just agree with what you heard. What's your next courageous step? See you later.